Feel free to have a seat. And sir, you understand you're still under oath even though we had a lunch break, correct?
Yes.
Appreciate it. Thank you so very much. Go ahead, counsel for ETT.
Good afternoon, Mr. Walters.
Good afternoon.
I understand you are the Vice President of Purchasing and Sales, is that right?
Correct.
And can you please describe your duties and responsibilities in that position?
So I'm responsible for the products that are in the Terrible Herbst convenience stores, in a lot of different categories, but oversee all the products that are inside the store.
And does your job include any type of duties or tasks with respect to information technology at Terrible Herbst?
None.
Do you have any background or experience or education in information technology?
No.
Who at Terrible Herbst is the Chief Information Officer?
Brad Sexton.
Mr. Walters, I'd like to show you your declaration that we were discussing earlier this morning. Mr. Zamora, if you could, please. And if you could please scroll down to the second page. Mr. Walters, earlier in your testimony here, when you started to testify today, you indicated that you had not conducted any email searches related to real water. Do you recall that testimony?
Yes.
After seeing your declaration, if I can ask you to please scroll down, Mr. Zamora, and in particular, paragraph number 4 of your declaration, did that refresh your recollection that you had conducted email searches prior to signing your declaration?
Yes.
At the time you signed your declaration, did you believe it to be true?
Yes.
At the time you signed your declaration, did you have any intention of hiding anything in this case?
No.
Now, as a result of the search referred to here in your declaration, you found no communications, is that right?
Correct.
With real water?
No.
Is that right? You
Yes.
did not.
Yes.
And now, based on recent information, you know that the statement that there were no communications with real water between yourself and real water to be inaccurate, is that right?
Yes.
And is that based upon email searches conducted last week? Or January 15th?
January 15th, yes.
And did Mr. Sexton assist you in searching those emails?
Yes.
Do you know where those email searches, we'll throw that. Do you know where you and Mr. Sexton searched in your emails last week?
The online archive grandfather.
At the time you were signing your declaration, were you aware of the online archive email and the need to search it separately?
No.
How did you become aware of the ability to search the online archives?
Through Brad Sexton's help.
If I can, please, Mr. Zamora, if you can please pull up the email we looked at earlier with Miss Amy Jones and Mr. Braden and Mr. Walters. And if you could please scroll up to the top email where Mr. Walters is copied. Mr. Walters, at the time you signed your declaration, were you, did you recall this email that you were copied on between Amy Jones and Brian Breeden?
No.
Who is Brian Breeden?
Our VP of Advertising and Marketing.
Do you have an understanding as to why he was copying you on this email to Amy Jones?
Yes.
What is your understanding?
Because I'm still working with the products that are in the stores.
Okay. Now, after this email, do you recall Terrible Herbst showing any commercials or videos for real water?
I do not.
Do you recall, however, the 2020 coupon that included real water amongst other products at the Terrible Herbst gas pumps?
Yes,
Did you recall that 2020 coupon at the time you had signed your declaration?
no,
Did you give a deposition in this case?
no,
Have you ever given a deposition?
I have not.
Have you ever testified in court?
I have not.
When you signed your declaration, were you trying to mislead anyone?
No,
Who is, we'll strike that, we'll withdraw that. Who does Anthony Randolph work for currently?
I don't know.
Did you understand that Mr. Randolph at one point worked for Real Water?
Yes,
And then did you also understand at some point you no longer work for Real Water?
yes,
Does Mr. Randolph currently promote any products that you're aware of?
no,
Have you heard of Essential Water?
yes.
Okay, who promotes Essential Water to Terrible Herbst?
Who delivers or promotes? It's delivered by Nevada Beverage,
Okay, who promotes it?
Nevada Beverage.
Does Mr. Randolph have anything to do with Essential Water or any other waters?
Not Essential Water, not to my knowledge.
Okay, how about any other waters?
I believe he's representing a new brand of water,
Okay, what water is that?
Alkanex.
Alkanex, okay. Who delivers Alkanex to Terrible Herbst?
Southern Glaciers Wine and Spirits.
And you mentioned Nevada Beverage Company, right?
Yes,
Did you purchase Real Water directly from Real Water?
not to
And
my
when I
knowledge.
say you, I mean Terrible Herbst.
Not to my knowledge.
Did Terrible Herbst purchase Real Water through Nevada Beverage?
Yes,
After you conducted your search last week, you located additional emails, right?
yes,
After you conducted that search, did you locate any contracts between Terrible Herbst and Real Water?
no,
Did that surprise you?
no.
Why not?
We don't have any contracts that exist
With Real Water?
with Real Water.
How about with Nevada Beverage? Does Terrible Herbst have any contracts with Nevada Beverage?
No contracts with Nevada Beverage.
To your knowledge, how long has Terrible Herbst been doing business with Nevada Beverage?
As long as I've been there. I know Nevada Beverage has been in business since the 40s, and I've been with Terrible since 2006, so I know we've been doing it since we've been in business.
And in that entire time, have you ever seen a contract or agreement between Terrible Herbst and Real Water?
No,
Is it fair to say that you also never saw a contract between Terrible Herbst and Nevada Beverage concerning Real Water?
no,
You have not seen that?
no, I've not.
How long has Terrible Herbst been in Clark County, in the valley?
I believe this year is our 65-year anniversary.
Since the time that you began working at Terrible Herbst, has the relationship with Nevada Beverage and Terrible Herbst ever changed?
No,
After you conducted the most recent searches last week, did you find any commercials or videos concerning Real Water?
no,
Earlier in your testimony, you were shown an email which included a pump and pour, like a mini report. Do you recall that?
yes.
Can you please describe what that is?
The report or pump and pour?
The report, please. Thank you.
The report showed on pump and pour for the 2 months that Real Water was on the screens, how many redemptions there were.
And Real Water was displayed on the screens for 2 months, is that right?
Yes,
Which 2 months, if you can recall?
I believe it was August and September,
Of which year?
2020.
along with Real Water, were there other products also promoted at the same time?
Yes,
And did you recall that 2020 coupon at the time you had signed your declaration?
no,
How many emails do you think you get in a day?
safe to say over 100.
And how many emails do you think you get in a week? Best estimate.
Easily over 500.
And how many of those emails that you get in a week are from somebody who is trying to either have their product sold at Terrible Herbst or promoted by Terrible Herbst?
I don't know an exact number.
Is it fair to say it's more than one?
Yes,
Would it be more than 10?
probably about 10% of them.
Okay. And do you respond to each of those emails from individuals or representatives trying to promote or sell products?
No,
Proceed.
Thank you, and just a few more questions. Mr. Walters, when you signed your declaration, were you attempting to be as honest as you could be?
yes,
And are you also being honest here today?
yes,
And when you signed that declaration, did you intend to hide anything from anybody?
no.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
That's all I have.
Appreciate it. Then this witness pursuant to the name of the parties would be excused, and counsel for plaintiff, so just watch your step on the way down. Thank you so very much for your time.
Thank you.
Take whatever you brought with you. Okay, perfect, thank you. That means counsel for plaintiff, would you like to call your next witness for the evidentiary hearing, please?
Yes, Your Honor, we plaintiffs would like to call Mr. Brad Sexton.
Okay, is he outside? I think
Yes, Your Honor.
the marshal might still be working with the, counsel. It's usually advisable, if counsel just comes and brings the witness in, then you just don't have an issue of one witness talking to another witness,
All right,
but,
thank you.
yeah, the marshal's still working with our near panel, getting all the parking and other things taken care of for them. Okay, if the marshal were here, he would have escorted you up to the witness stand. The marshal's assisting our news veneer panel, so when you go to the witness stand, you'll get sworn in, okay? Witness stand, to keep walking. Perfect, thank you so very much. If you face the clerk is going to swear you in.
Please raise your right hand. You do solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this action shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and obtain and penalty of perjury.
I do.
You may have a seat, and please state and spell your name for the record.
Brad Sexton, BradSexton.
Okay. I need a friendly reminder, because you're one of those people who likes to lean back. You have a nice comfy seat there in the witness stand. One of the things we do ask you is we just have you scoot in or be a little bit more forward, so you're nice and clear right near the microphone, so we can just hear all your answers. Okay. Go ahead, please, counsel for plaintiff.
Thank you.
Commence with your examination.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Mr. Sexton, how are you?
I'm doing well, how are you?
I'm wonderful. Mr. Sexton, I don't believe you and I have met, is that a correct statement?
It is correct.
Mr. Sexton, can you please tell us for the record what you do for Terrible Herbst?
I'm the Chief Information Officer.
Yes, sir. And as Chief Information Officer, what are your responsibilities day in and day out, sir?
I'm responsible for the strategic and tactical delivery of information technology across Terrible.
Strategical, tactical, and what else?
Of information technology.
That's a lot, that's a mouthful. And what does that mean in lay people terms?
I'm responsible for the technology and IT.
Good enough. Does that also mean that you're responsible for the general oversight of the IT department for Terrible?
That would be correct.
Would that also mean that if someone was asking for information, where to locate, especially electronically stored information, that you would be the person to come to?
That would be fair.
And how long have you been in that position, sir?
Since April of 2023.
Oh, and who was your predecessor?
There was a director of IT before me, but there was not a Chief Information Officer.
Okay. So April of 2023. Now, in April of 2023, were you alerted by someone within Terrible's, not their attorney, but perhaps Mr. Kemper or Mr. Breeden or Mr. Walters, of litigation, ongoing litigation involving Real Water and several plaintiffs,
I'm sorry, at what time?
when you arrived in April of 2023?
I was not.
When was the first time you were alerted to litigation, ongoing litigation between Real Water, Terribles, and plaintiffs?
September 2023.
September of 2023. And in September of 2023, were you asked to do a diligent search of Terrible's electronically stored information or files to recover any documents or information related to Real Water?
Yes, I was.
And did you in fact do that?
I did.
And in September of 2023, did you in fact produce any documents?
I did not find any documents.
Now, you're the head guy at the IT department, and you found nothing in September of 2023.
That is correct.
Got it. You prepared a declaration in this case, is that correct?
That is correct.
When was the last time you reviewed that declaration?
A few days ago,
Okay, was there a particular reason why you reviewed it a few days ago?
preparation for this trial.
For this trial?
For this appearance.
Okay. Well, we didn't know this appearance was gonna happen until recently, yesterday, I think. So, were you preparing for trial?
I was preparing to be able to speak to what I had performed.
Yes, sir. Okay. Perhaps you have a kind of a glass ball that's sitting right there in front of the judge, one of those crystal balls. Do you have one of those?
No, sir.
Now, Mr. Sexton, when you reviewed your files, when I say your files, Terrible's files, in September of 2023, was there anything particular you were looking for?
Communications, email communications related to Real Water and realwater.com.
Okay. And did you have a reason behind looking for communications?
I was asked to perform a search of our email system for any communication related to Real Water and realwater.com.
All right. And were you aware of whether or not a prior search had been done for such documents?
I was not aware of it.
So in terms of 2021, 22, all the way up to September of 2023, you're not aware of any prior searches conducted looking for that same information?
No, sir.
Good. Did you have an idea of any of the discovery deadlines in this case when you searched in September of 2023?
Not to my recollection, sir.
Do you have an understanding, again, not from discussions with attorneys, why you were asked to do the declaration?
My understanding was to state what searches I had performed.
If you could, Shane, please put on the monitor Mr. Saxton's declaration. Do you recognize the first page of this document, sir?
I do.
And it says here, Declaration of Brad Sexton in support of ETT1, LLC, DBA, Terrible Herbst, opposition to plaintiff's motion to strike ETT1, LLC, DBA, Terrible Herbst, answer, or for lesser appropriate sanctions. You see that?
I do.
And when you prepared this declaration, you had an understanding that your declaration, sworn to, would be used to defeat or defend against plaintiff's motion to strike, correct?
Yes, sir.
So let's go to page 2 of your, actually, let's go to the last page just so we can verify that this is your electronic signature. Is that your electronic signature, Mr. Sexton?
Yes, sir.
And I also wanted to show you this page just so you can have a date, November 21st, 2023. See that?
Yes, sir.
Does that refresh your recollection as to the time you signed this document?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. Now, paragraph 2 indicates that you reviewed plaintiff's motion, which is apparently the motion to strike, and in particular the accusations that Terrible Herbst, Christopher Kemper, and Brian Reed stated the following. And then you see the 3 items there?
Yes, sir.
And your declaration was being used to refute those accusations made by the plaintiff, correct?
Appears so, yes.
All right. And we go to paragraph 3. Strike that before we do that. Number 1 says, Terrible Herbst did not have communications with real water employees in 2018, 19, and 20. Would you agree with me, Mr. Sexton, that that in fact was a misrepresentation?
Objection, misstates the evidence.
Would you agree with me? Overruled the way that question was phrased, would you agree with me?
Is that true, Mr. Sexton?
I'm sorry, should I answer?
Oh, when I overrule an objection, yes, you may answer.
Thank
If I sustain it, then you can't, and I'll be glad to clarify.
Would you please restate it for me?
Sure. Would you agree with me, sir, that line number 1 says Terrible Herbst did not have communications with real water employees in 2018, 19, and 20 is a misstatement?
Yes.
In fact, there was a lie. There was a misrepresentation when you signed this declaration, correct?
Not when I signed that declaration.
As we know of today, correct?
Correct.
As of last week, you knew that this declaration was a lie in terms of that item, correct?
It wasn't a lie. I stated what I knew at the time, and I found additional information afterwards, and that was different than what was stated originally.
This statement here is incorrect.
It is incorrect.
Thank you. Same with item number 3. Terrible Herbst did not run real water video advertising on its gas pumps in 2019 and 20. Is that also incorrect?
Advertising,
For example, the pump and pour.
there was a pump and pour program that included real water as one of the items on it, yes.
All right. So that item, number 3, paragraph 2, is an incorrect statement.
Yes.
Now, let's go to paragraph 3, sir. Paragraph 3 says, I've conducted searches of Terrible Herbst computer data systems. You see that?
Yes, sir.
Now, to me, computer data systems is all inclusive. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
There is no conditions or caveats in front of that, in front of computer data systems, correct?
That is correct.
That would include emails, hard drives, servers, archive documents. That would include everything, correct?
That's fair to say.
And despite you doing and searching each one of those possible places or locations for information, you found none of the documents that you ultimately found last week, correct?
That is correct.
So, given what we know about what happened last week, this statement appears to be either a mistake on your part or there was some form of mistake when the search was being done. Is that a fair statement?
That would be fair.
What we do know is through the mistake that was done in September of 2023 resulted in plaintiffs not having the benefit of any of those documents until last week, correct?
I believe that would be correct.
It further says, I'm going to read it to you, sir. I've conducted searches of Terrible Herbst computer data systems that could contain any communications or agreements with real water or advertisements or commercials of real water. So again, when you take that sentence and you consider where we are today, your search was not all inclusive because you missed at least 290 pages of documents that were discovered last week, correct?
That would be fair.
Who conducted that search, sir?
I performed the search.
And you would be the person most capable of doing such a search, correct?
Yes, sir.
Do you know what Terrible Herbst's retention policy is when it comes to document?
Our overall retention policy, as I understand it, is we keep everything.
Keep everything. Now, we've heard in this case that Terribles has a 3-year purge policy. Is that incorrect? Am I mistaken?
I couldn't speak to that. Not anything I heard.
But certainly, if Terrible Herbst has a 3-year retention policy, when this case was filed in 2021, it should have been able to retrieve documents back in 2018, correct?
I mean, if the retention policy was 3 years, it would be 3 years prior to whatever the time was that you did the search.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir. And if you're correct, and there is no purge policy, we should be able to get documents from 2008 to the present on the interactions between Terribles and Real Water, correct?
Yes.
Objection calls for speculation, lacks foundation.
I have to overrule it on lacks foundation in light of his statement that his understanding was that we keep everything.
That was a answer to my
And so
question.
I also have to overrule it on speculation based on the witness's prior testimony that we keep everything. So the witness may answer.
That would be my understanding.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, can you speak up a little more, scoot forward, please?
Yeah.
Give him the mic.
It happens all the time when people are not familiar with it. We just need you nicely clear the mic, as much as it's a nice, comfortable seat that people like to lean back on, okay? Appreciate it. Thanks much.
And any closer, you and I will be right here, so I know you're trying.
Not sure I can get much closer, but I'll continue to try.
No worries, Mr. Sexton, I know you're trying. The next sentence says, I did not locate any communications or agreements between Terrible Herbst and Real Water. And the only advertisement I located was a still image of the 2020 coupon for Real Water that was produced by Terrible Herbst and is attached to plaintiff's motion. That was it, correct?
Yes, sir.
Would you agree that your search was either inadequately performed or just not diligently performed?
No. I believe they were diligently performed and an understanding of the system that I was performing the searches in. I believed at the time it would produce all documentation.
But in fact, that was untrue, right?
It did not produce all of the documentation.
That's true. And as a result, documents that you were asked to produce back in September of 23 that actually should have been produced in 2021, since that's when the case started, strike that. Let me ask you this way. When you did your search in September of 2023, did you do a search that went back 2 years, 3 years? How many years did your search go back?
2015, 2021.
Okay. Okay. Now, are you aware of the fact that Real Water was selling its products, it's not selling, but providing its products, eventually to be sold by Terrible Herbst since 2008?
Eventually I was.
When did you become aware of that? And again, I don't want to, if that information came through an attorney, if it came through people within Terrible Herbst, then I'd like you to respond.
It was sometime after September of 2023.
Okay. Did you know that discovery in this case ended in November of 23?
No, sir.
Paragraph 4 says, I searched Terrible Herbst's company-wide emails using the terms real water, real, and water. I did not locate any communications or agreements between Terrible Herbst and Real Water. Was that true when you said that or made that declaration, sir?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Godfrey, can you show me TH 2406, please? And Mr. Godfrey, everywhere you see the words real or water or real water, please highlight those. Now, go to 2407 and do the same form. Now, if you could go to 2384. You can do the same with 2387. $23.52. $23.53. $23.57. So we got a lot more pages. I'm gonna stop right there. Is it fair to say, Mr. Sexton, when you did your search in September of 2023, you didn't find any of these documents despite your search terms being consistent with the words real and water replete in the documents I just showed you?
Yes, sir.
Would you agree with me that when you did that search in September of 2023, you should have discovered those documents because they did include the search terms you used and mentioned in your declaration?
It would have been my understanding that it would have found those documents.
Yes, sir. Would you also agree, sir, that those documents, ones we just showed you that had real water, drink at real water, all of those documents were between representatives of Terribles and Real Water?
I believe at least one of them was with Nevada Beverage.
But it was about Real Water.
It was about real water, yes.
Thank you. Let's go to paragraph 9, which is on page 3, Mr. Doctor. I spoke to Mr. Kemper before his deposition in this case. I advised Mr. Kemper of my computer searches and the fact that I am not aware of any communications, agreements, or contract between Terrible Herbst and Real Water. And when you gave that declaration, were you passing on to Mr. Kemper false information?
It was not, it was my understanding at the time that I did not find any documentation. Subsequently, there were additional documentation that was found.
So we know today, based upon the information you found last week, that that was false information you were conveying to Mr. Kemper, correct?
Incorrect.
I'm sorry,
It was incorrect, yes.
your information was incorrect.
Correct.
Thank you. Paragraph 10, you said, you indicate or declare under oath. I also spoke to Brian Breeden, Joul Odou's Vice President of Advertising and Marketing, about the possible location of any contracts or agreements with Real Water, including any agreements related to advertising, so that I could search additional locations within Terrible Herbst computers for servers. I bring this sentence up because earlier on, you
Excuse
okay?
me. Yeah.
Okay.
There's water right behind the monitor, can you
Thank
see?
you.
Perhaps as well.
Earlier in this declaration, you said that you searched all computer data systems. What else would be left to check or to search when you said additional locations within Terrible Herbst computers or servers? What are you talking about there?
In this case, it was just making sure that I was aware of any other locations, any other places where Mr. Breeden may have stored some information.
Based upon that statement, you were conveying within this declaration that you've checked the universe of possibilities and there was nothing out there, correct?
I'm not sure I would qualify it as universe, but I did what I believe to be a comprehensive search, yes.
An exhaustive search in your opinion.
That's fair to say.
Right. And that was a declaration you intended for this court to rely upon because you were doing it in support of Terrible's position, correct?
Yes, sir.
That was your intention behind it, correct? Thank you. Next sentence says, Mr. Breeden advised me, to his knowledge, Terrible Herbst did not have any contracts or agreements with Rio Water. In addition, Mr. Breeden advised me that Terrible Herbst does not have any advertising or marketing agreement with Rio Water or Nevada Beverage. Based upon some of the emails we found, there was an indication that Rio Water had commercials that at one point was being provided or used on Terrible Herbst's platform, either within the store or on the pumps. Are you aware of that?
Well, I'm not sure I would qualify them as commercials, but they were a part of our pumping for advertising for, coupons on the pumps.
Yes, sir. Were you aware of any of the commercials involving, or the commercial involving Miss Amy Jones?
If you're talking about like the 18-second and 30-second
Yes, sir.
video clips, I did review those.
All right. And did you inform Mr. Kemper of those 18-second or 30-second videos before he did his deposition? Bless you.
If I knew that before the time that I had the conversation with him, I would have conveyed that to him.
Right. Because it would be a misstatement if someone were to say that there were no Real Water commercials involving Miss Amy Jones, correct?
Objection, misstates the testimony and the evidence.
Counsel, since we're here in evidentiary hearing and I'm the trier of fact, can you explain a little bit more what you mean? Because I'm thinking of your footnote 1 that was read yesterday.
Yes, he's assuming that Mr. Sexton found the videos, and that's not what he's said. I don't think he's even established that yet, how he got the videos.
You know, that's, well, you asked for that, the
These are the
explanation, but
These are the videos that were the subject of the motion to strike, and that's what he's talking about in his declaration. He did not say he found the videos.
So your objection is to who actually found the videos versus the videos being found, is that correct?
That's right, Your Honor.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna have to sustain that because it's not established who actually found the videos
I don't
versus
think
the
I asked
videos
him
being
about.
found.
I don't think I even asked that question, no. But I,
For
if you want,
clarity, I'm gonna sustain it from the way it was understood, is from this court in the,
no
using the
worries.
word you.
I'm more than happy to work through it. Mr. Sexton, you said that when I was referring to the commercial, you said if you're talking about the 18-second and 30-second commercial. Do you remember saying that?
Yes, sir.
Did I ask you who found them?
Don't believe so. I'm
I didn't think so.
100% sure.
That's fine, but I think we got it clear on the record now. How are you aware of the 18 and 30-second commercials, sir?
Through conversations with other Terrible's employees.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And perhaps you saw the email between Miss Amy Jones and Mr. Brian Breeden when she was asking about having that commercial ran again.
The one you showed earlier on the screen.
Yes, sir.
I've seen that.
Thanks. Now, your next sentence here on page 4 of your declaration says, Mr. Breeden further advised me that since 2018, marketing and advertising materials are saved in the marketing Dropbox that I searched as referenced above. So at this point in your declaration, you're trying to convey to the reader of this declaration that you've done everything that you can do, including speaking to other Terrible Herbst employees to make sure you searched anything they came up with, correct?
Search any location that could potentially have information.
Thank you. With the point being, you've searched everywhere you can think of, everywhere any other Terrible Herbst employees can think of, at least the ones named here, and you didn't find any additional documents, correct?
Correct.
And we know that all of those conversations and all of your searches failed to reveal the documents that were produced last week, correct?
Correct.
Which means that everyone you spoke to and everyone who suggested other locations, suggesting to you that there was nothing else that they found, based upon your own conversations with them, were mistaken, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Sir, why did you recheck on January 15, 2024? What made you decide, I'm gonna go and check somewhere else? And you know something, strike that. On January 15, 2024, did you check somewhere else?
I was involved in searches in multiple other locations.
All right. And outside of an attorney, did someone ask you to check somewhere else?
Yes.
And again, outside of an attorney, did someone tell you why they wanted you to check somewhere else?
Yes.
Who told you that and what did they tell you?
I don't specifically remember who it was who told me, but I was informed of a search that Kayla Adams had performed and had identified additional documentation and where she had looked.
And that's someone who works under Mr. Breeden in his department, correct?
That is correct.
Did you know that on the 15th, and again, not through counsel, that plaintiffs sent a letter to ETT's counsel indicating that certain documents had been discovered, at least listed, and that we wanted to know where the rest of the documents were?
I was not aware specifically.
So you didn't know that that happened on the very same day that you decided to check LD? You understood when you signed this declaration that you were obligated to do so under penalties of perjury, correct?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. I'll pass the witness.
Thanks much. Okay, counsel for ETT, would you like to inquire for the witness?
Yes, I would, Your Honor. Valerie Rojas for ETT. Good afternoon, Mr. Sexton.
Good afternoon.
Mr. Sexton, can you just describe, please, for us your educational background, in particular in the IT field?
I graduated from University of Maryland University College with a bachelor's degree in information systems management. I've taken various other graduate level classes and pursuant to additional degrees, although I haven't completed any of them. I've also been through more than I can count technical training classes. With certifications as a certified information security professional, CISM, one other one, I don't remember what the acronym is for it, but it's another security related certification.
Was your employment, or strike that, is your employment with Terrible Herbst your first job in the IT industry?
No.
Can you please describe for the board your experience in the IT industry, your work experience, please?
I've roughly 30 years experience in IT, ranging anywhere from supporting the Department of Defense, Department of Energy, supported county, police departments, private sector.
What are some of the places that you've worked?
I've been the Chief Information Security Officer for Desert Research Institute, which is a member of the Nevada System of Higher Education here in Las Vegas. I worked for Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. I have worked for Tau Group as a head of security information security for them. Worked for City Colleges of Chicago, Clark County Reporter's Office. It's probably the most recent ones.
Have you held any security certifications?
The ones I just mentioned, you security certification.
And what do those mean? When you hold that?
The most important one out of all of them is the Chief Information or the Certified Information Security Professional, the CISSP. It's widely recognized as the most difficult and comprehensive security certification within the industry.
Now, I'd like to talk a little bit about the search you conducted in September of, is that 2023?
Yes,
And you began working at Terrible Herbst in April of 2023, right?
yes, ma'am.
Can you describe what your search involved in September of 2023? You could take us through the steps of those searches.
So was searching our network drives for any documentation that would be relevant to Rio Water. I also did a search of our email system for the same terms, Rio Water and realwater.com.
And whose email boxes were included in those searches?
Every active email box within the Terrible organization.
So when you were searching the emails in September 2022, would that have included Mr. Breeden's emails, for example?
Yes, ma'am.
Would that search in September 2023 have also included a search of Mr. Walter's emails?
Yes, ma'am.
And would your search in September of 2023 also have included Mr. Kemper's emails?
Yes, ma'am.
Would your search in September of 2023 also have included Kayla Adams' emails?
Yes, ma'am.
Who is Kayla Adams?
Kayla Adams is the Director of Marketing and works for Mr. Valerie Rojas.
And did you also conduct a search in November of 2023?
Yes, ma'am.
And can you please describe for us the searches you conducted in September of 2023?
So do you mean September or November?
Oh, I'm sorry, November of 2023. Thank you.
November of 2023, roughly the same search, different variations of real water, and realwater.com.
And did you execute that declaration after, that we've been talking about, after you conducted the November 2023 searches?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you believe that your declaration was accurate at the time you signed it?
Yes, ma'am.
And at the time you signed your declaration, had you found any communications between a Real Water employee and a Terrible Herbst employee for the years 2018, 2019, or 2020?
No, ma'am.
After your search in November of 2023, did you find any contracts or agreements between Real Water and Terrible Herbst?
No, ma'am.
Did that surprise you?
Don't know if I'd be surprised or not surprised. I'd probably be surprised if I found something because our relationship wasn't with Real Water, it was with Nevada Beverage,
And who is Nevada Beverage to your knowledge?
the distributor.
Now, you searched most recently last week, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And I understand that that search yielded some results, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And can you please tell us what prompted you to conduct that search last week?
Yeah, after Kayla Adams had performed a search and found items, it was clear to me that the search that I had performed both in September and November was missing something. So after communicating with Kayla, identified that the search that I had performed, that I believed had been searching what we call an online archive, was not searching the online archive. And so at that point in time, I decided that in order to ensure that we were able to search online archives and produce any other documentation, I sat down with several individuals within Terrible's and either performed the search for them or helped them perform the search to include searching their online archive.
Okay, first of all, let's talk about which employees you're referring to in that last.
So in that one, it was Mr. Mark Walters, Mr. Brian Breeden, Mr. Ryan Prince, and, sorry, I went blank for a second. Director that works for Mark. Mr. Jason King.
Okay. And why did you search or help search the emails of the individuals you just listed?
Your Honor, if I could, can I get the last name, the Jason, I can remember the last, couldn't get the last name of Jason.
It would be helpful, the court reporter's gonna ask you to have it spelled anyway, so would you mind just repeating the last name and spelling it out to the best of your recollection, if you know it?
Mr. Jason King, Jasononking. Yes.
And why did you select those individuals?
Because the positions that they were in, they would be the individuals that will potentially have any communication with real water.
And what about Kayla Adams' search prompted you to conduct another search? If you could just describe what happened.
Yeah, so Kayla works on a Mac, and because she works on a Mac, her email client is a little bit different than if you work on a Windows machine. Because of that, her search capability on the Mac is limited. So in her case, she had to go to a web interface to do a search. She also had knowledge of her online archive and knew that she had to search that separately. And so when she searched her online archive and found some additional emails, through that conversation and learning what had happened with her, that's when I went back to the other individuals and said, okay, the search I had performed that I thought was searching the online archive wasn't. Now how do we go back and search and make sure that we've included everything? So that's when I went back with Mr. Breeden, Mr. Walters, Mr. King, and Mr. Prince, and helped them do the search. And I performed the search on Mr. Chris Kemper's email.
Okay. Now, you mentioned, first of all, web interface and online archive. Are those one and the same, or are they different?
The web interface is a different way to obtain access to your inbox or your online archive. In Kayla's case, because her email client is limited on a Mac, in order to be able to search her online archive, she had to go to the web interface.
And were you aware of the online archive when you were conducting your searches in September and November of 2023?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you believe that your searches were including the online archives when you were running those searches?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you now know that that is incorrect?
I do know that, ma'am.
And when you signed your declaration, did you believe it to be true?
Yes, ma'am.
How did you discover that your searches were not capturing the online archive?
Through the conversation with Kayla.
Okay, and did you undertake any efforts, you personally, to understand or to research why that was happening?
I did two things. One, I reached out to a reseller that we get our Microsoft licensing from, which the products are all Microsoft. I reached out to them to ask if they had technical resources specific to the online archive or the e-discovery tool, which is the interface I use to do the search with, to help me identify why I would not be searching the online archive. As well, I did my own searching through the internet, reading through articles, technical documentation, and everything I identified said that the search should be searching the online archive. although I wasn't able to get the technical resource, I'm sorry, I didn't finish that. They did not have a technical resource that was an expertise in the e-discovery.
Who is the they in your
I'm
sentence?
sorry, SHI, which is the reseller that we utilize for our Microsoft products.
What is this, a reseller? How would you explain that to a layperson who doesn't understand?
It's the company that sells us Microsoft products.
And why were you not able to locate a resource? Is that what you said?
Because they didn't have a resource on staff that was an expert in e-discovery.
And is that when you conducted your own research?
I was doing it at the same time I was communicating with them.
And your research indicated that the online archive should have been searched.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have an explanation as you sit here today as to why your searches in September and November of 2023 did not capture the online archive?
No, ma'am.
Prior to conducting searches at Terrible Herbst for emails, had you conducted searches like that for other organizations, and you don't have to disclose the organization or what it was?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you ever encountered a problem like this where your searches were not capturing everything that you believed was included?
No, ma'am.
Why does Kayla Adams have a Mac?
She's a graphics person in marketing, and the programs to manipulate graphics are significantly better on a Mac.
You mentioned that all products are Microsoft products. Is Ms. Adams' product a Microsoft product?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you understand why Ms. Adams was conducting the searches last week?
Subsequently, yes,
What did you learn?
that she was asked to perform a search for a different case.
A different lawsuit?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any information about what that lawsuit was?
Other than the name of it, Henry.
A friendly reminder to everyone, remember who the trial judge in that particular case is.
Yes, Your Honor.
This court's only addressing the present case, but do remember who your trial judge in that case is.
I'm aware, Your Honor, I'm just asking to get the background.
No worries.
for the reason. Thank you, I'll put it on for
I'm not suggesting you go further or less, it's just, I wasn't sure if everyone was aware of who the trial judge in that particular case was. So I just was giving a friendly reminder who the trial judge is.
Now, after you searched the emails last week, they yielded a number of results, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Did those searches reveal any contracts or agreements between Terrible Herbst and Roe Water?
Not to my knowledge.
Did those recent searches reveal any commercials or videos concerning Real Water, other than a link in the Amy Jones email?
Not to my knowledge.
What is the Dropbox?
Dropbox is an online or a cloud-based storage program.
At Terrible Herbst, what is included in the Dropbox that Mr. Breeden manages?
It's documentation that's used in our marketing program.
Did you conduct any searches of the Dropbox?
Yes, ma'am.
Who did you conduct those searches with?
Myself.
And do you recall an occasion in which you were conducting searches of the Dropbox along with Mr. Breeden?
Yes, ma'am.
After you searched the Dropbox, did you locate any videos or commercials concerning Real Water?
No, ma'am.
After searching the Dropbox, did you locate the 2020 still coupon or pause screen related to Real Water?
Yes, ma'am.
Other than the 2020 coupon, did you locate any other promotions or marketing materials concerning Real Water?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Sexton, in your experience, if you had conducted the same searches you conducted in September in November of 2023 at an earlier time, say as soon as you got to Terrible Herbst in April of 2023, do you believe that that would have yielded any different results than the negative results you got on those two occasions?
No, ma'am.
Did you have to assist Ms. Adams in conducting her searches?
No, ma'am.
She was able to do that on her own?
That is correct.
And I think you answered this, but you were aware of the online archive before you conducted the September and November 2023 searches, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you believed your searches was capturing those, was capturing the online archive, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Sexton, when you were executing your declaration, were you trying to hide something?
No, ma'am.
Did you intend to mislead anyone?
No, ma'am.
Do you know how far the Dropbox goes back?
2000, sometime in 2018. Let me state that again. Sometime in 2018 is when it was created.
Okay, and where did the contents of the Dropbox come from, to your knowledge?
Mr. Reed replaced the contents of it.
And do you know where he located the information or the documentation that's included in the Dropbox?
I do not know specifically.
When you were referring to the videos in your declaration, did you find those videos?
No, ma'am.
To your knowledge, did anyone at Terrible Herbst find those videos?
I believe someone did, but I don't know who it was.
Are you sure somebody found those videos? Would they be in the Dropbox, or do you know?
I would think that they would be in the Dropbox, but I really don't know.
Did you find those videos in any of your searches, including the online archive, the Dropbox, and the Outlook boxes?
No, ma'am.
What search terms did you use when you searched the Dropbox?
Real water, various versions of it, capital letters, all capitals, all one word, space in between.
Do you know anyone who works at who worked at Real Water?
No, ma'am.
Did you know Amy Jones?
No, ma'am.
How about Anthony Rudolph? Anthony Randolph?
Randolph, yeah, no, ma'am.
In your recent search of the document productions, did you actually look at any of the documents?
Some of them.
And did you see emails related to the 2020 coupon?
I don't recall.
And in September of 2023, when you were conducting those searches, that was company-wide, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And is that also true for the November 2023 search? That was a company-wide search?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you heard back from the vendor, the Microsoft vendor, concerning any answer as to why your earlier searches did not capture the online archive?
Not yet.
Thank you, that's all I have. You can-
So here's the court's question, okay? With regards to hearings such as this, if the court has a question, I tell the parties that the court has a question, of course, perfectly fine not asking that question. I would only ask the question of the witness if all parties were in agreement that I could ask said question of the witness. And the court doesn't take anything one way or another. If one party says, guess what, we'd rather you not, Your Honor, because realistically, it's you all's evidentiary hearing. So, consistent with that, I'm going to tell you what the court's one question is, and if anybody doesn't wish the court to ask the question, then I won't. Like I said, it's not gonna have any impact on the decision one way or another. I just needed to have a question for point of clarification. So here would be the question the court would ask, if everyone's okay. The court would ask clarification as to what is the online archive. Is it a straight Microsoft product, or is it some proprietary product that has been created for, on behalf of Terrible Herbst? That would be the question. The court has no viewpoint whether like I said, but if all parties are in agreement that the court can ask the question, then the court would. If anybody doesn't want the court to, then the court's perfectly fine not asking. Like I said, it has no impact on the ruling of the court, anybody's position.
We would agree that the court could ask that question, Your Honor.
Plaintiffs do as well, Your Honor.
But why do you want to be heard on this one?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
Does no thank you mean you don't want to be heard?
No position.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, presume the witness heard the question. Do you want me to, okay?
If you wouldn't mind repeating it.
If the court was trying to get a point of clarification, the term online archive that's been used. The court's question is that a straight Microsoft product, a straight archive function on Microsoft Outlook, or is it some proprietary software that may be combined with Microsoft that's something special for Terrible Herbst?
It is not special, it is actually just a feature that you can turn on in the Microsoft suite.
That's what the court just wanted clarification, okay. Thank you so much. That's the
Thank
court's
you.
only question. Appreciate it. Okay, there being no further questions from this witness, then I understand the witness's excuse. Thank you so very much for your time. Please watch your step on your way down. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, this juncture, we've got, let's see, we started back 1:15. Seems to me we can go to the next witness, then we'll take our afternoon break thereafter. If we're planning on being, how long do you think the next witness is gonna take? Because that's what we're gonna decide on our afternoon break. I thought you might want it before your closing remarks, and you decide you might want to argue.
I'm fine going right now, Your Honor. I figure this gentleman was deposed and he was
I see a
also
time frame, counsel.
25 minutes.
And how much do you think you need equal time?
Probably about the same, Your Honor.
Well, that means about an hour from now, which is probably not fair to anybody who wants an afternoon break. Remember, the more time you're taking this, you all have a pending motion, ETT, and there's also demonstratives that you all are all going to get done in a 3-hour time period this morning. Okay, let's take our afternoon break then now. So let's come back in 15 minutes, 5 minutes. Thank you so very much, everyone, and please do clear the courtroom so my team can have their afternoon break. I do appreciate it.
Thank you, Your Honor.
That means at this juncture, counsel for plaintiff and counsel for AT&T, what's next?
We're ready to go, Your Honor, our last witness.
Okay, would you like to call your last witness then?
Thank you. Mr. Kemper, please.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Kemper, just like everybody else, would you roughly remain standing, face the court clerk, and raise your right hand?
You do solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this action shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, under pains and penalty of perjury?
Yes, I do.
You have a seat, and please state and spell your name for the record.
My legal name is Christopher, CHRISTOPHER, Jody, JODY, Kemper, KEMPER.
Good afternoon, Mr. Kemper. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Mr. Kemper, I don't believe you and I have met. Is that correct? Or have you?
Have not.
Okay. It's nice meeting you today. I have a few questions for you, but I want to start off where the last witness left off. You heard Mr. Sexton speak, right?
Yes.
All right. Mr. Sexton, I believe, and I'm trying to take fairly decent notes, testified that he did a search of a few of the Terrible Herbst employees' emails himself. I think he mentioned Jason King, who works for Mark Walters, Ryan Prince, Mr. Breeden Mr. Walters, and yourself. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. How many employees does Terrible Herbst have?
I would say 1,200.
And how many in Nevada?
$900.
All right. And so he checked, let's do the count. Jason King, Mark Walters, Ryan Prince, Brian Green, and yourself, so 5. So he's checked 5 emails out of 900 employees, correct?
No.
Is that not what he testified to a little while ago?
Well, 2 questions there, 2 comments that aren't correct.
Okay,
So you asked me how many employees we have. We have that number.
yes, sir.
Not every employee has an email box. Our cashiers, they really don't have email boxes. So you went into different
No worries.
areas.
How many Terrible's employees have email boxes?
I would say probably, let's just say 300, 350.
Okay. So out of 300 to 350, he checked about 5. So maybe that's 1/2 of 1% of all your employees he checked, is that correct?
Actually, my recollection and my understanding of what he was saying is he did a search with some of those people. He searched my box himself, not with me. And when he does the company search, he did a company-wide search, not specifically with each individual. He did 4 people individually that I believe he identified, and he did me only because I wasn't there. So he gained access on the back end, I'll call it, I guess, is what he told me.
Yes, sir. But he did the searches with those people he mentioned that I just recited to you again. For what reason? Because he didn't ask them to do it themselves? Did they need his help? What was your understanding of what he testified to?
He wanted to make sure that it was done in the way that he thought it needed to be done, was the way I took it.
Understood. Which means the other 99.5% of the people who have email accounts with Terrible Herbst, their emails have not been checked by him, correct?
No,
Well, they didn't do it themselves, correct?
but he did.
Okay, that's.
He did a it's my understanding that he did a company-wide search.
Got it. With these 4 people assisting him when they check their emails. Correct? Mr. Prince, Mr. Walters, Mr. Breeden, and Mr. King. He actually did the search with them assisting, correct?
Correct.
All right. He's not done that with anyone else, correct?
Not to my knowledge.
Thank you. Now, you gave a declaration, 2 declarations. One in support of Terrible's opposition to our first motion, and then you did a second one on the renewed motion, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, let's take a look at the second one first. If you could bring that up, Mr. Godfrey. And this document is dated January, no, at the top, I want to go back to the top first page. Oh, go down right below that. Stop. All right, so this is a declaration of Christopher Kemper in support of opposition to plaintiff's renewed motion for sanction, or motion to strike, correct?
Correct.
All right, so you understood why you were being asked to prepare and sign this declaration, correct?
Correct.
Let's go to the last page so we can confirm your electronic signature. Your Honor, may I approach? May I approach over here? Can I get near a microphone?
Yes.
Or let's see if we can hear you. Yes,
Thank you, Your Honor.
as long as we can hear you.
So, Mr. Kemper, I know it's gonna be awkward. I still want you to be able to look at the screen. I know I'm standing over here, it makes it a little more difficult. I apologize. January 19th is when you allowed someone to use your electronic signature, correct?
Correct,
All right, good enough. And you remember actually reviewing this before you signed?
correct,
And you understood that the first declaration you did, as well as the second declaration, was supposed to be truthful and honest, correct?
correct.
All right, let's go to the first page. Or the second page, there we go, right there. Now, the first paragraph is virtually the same from the one we'll look at later. But it just repeats that you're the Executive Vice President of Administration at Terrible Herbst, correct?
Correct,
And you were also the 30B6 witness for Terrible Herbst, correct?
correct,
And you've been involved in many lawsuits on behalf of Terrible Herbst, correct?
correct,
Good enough. So you know the importance of declarations like this.
correct,
Good enough. And in paragraph 2, you said, in my role as Terrible Herbst's Executive VP of Administration, I'm directly involved in ETT's appearance in this matter. ETT1's Chief Information Officer, Brad Sexton, is a person who rebuilt the server so the searches could be conducted and who oversaw conduct of email searches utilizing certain search terms provided to ETT in order to respond to discovery requests. Now, this is the first time we heard of a rebuilt server. When was this server rebuilt?
yeah, I don't recall, reading that. Mr. Sexton can maybe, talk to that better than me.
Sir, you signed this declaration. So when you did so, if you go to the first paragraph, it says, I have personal knowledge or can testify as a speaking agent of ETT of the facts asserted herein, and if called as a witness, I would confidently testify thereto. So certainly you didn't sign this declaration given those parameters, not knowing what paragraph 2 means, correct?
Correct,
All right, so I'll ask again. You indicate here that Brad Sexton is the person who rebuilt the server. Do you know or have any idea when that server was rebuilt?
no idea,
All right. Do you know why it was rebuilt?
no idea,
Do you know if the software system utilized by that server was changed?
no idea,
You have no idea whether or not that server being rebuilt or the software used by that server has anything to do with how the searches were performed, correct?
no idea,
Thank you. And in fact, you don't mention in this paragraph 2 anything about a software system or a suite called online archiving. Correct?
I'm sorry, say it again?
Yes. You heard Mr. Sexton talk about online archiving being a part of the Microsoft suite using his vernacular, correct?
Correct,
You don't mention that in paragraph 2, do you?
no,
All right, let's go to paragraph 3. ETT1 search for documents responsive to the request for production in related case yielded additional emails that ETT search did not find when responding to the discovery request in this case. Again, you don't mention here any software changes or perhaps any mix-up in the way the software was used that prevented these documents from being produced, in this case, 2 years ago, correct?
correct,
Perfect. Paragraph 4. ETT's team was not previously aware of these emails when its counsel responded to the discovery in this case. What team are you speaking of?
The general team of our company. Our company, we believe, is a team effort, and we reference team a lot.
Okay, but who makes up that team? Are you talking about the whole 300, the 350? Are we talking about the 900? Are we talking about 1,200? In terms of the team that you're referring to in paragraph 4, what team are you describing?
Well, in this specific case, I guess we would be talking about the people that we were looking for emails from. So anybody within our company, because in my head, they did a company-wide search. Brad did a company-wide search, and there wasn't anything discovered.
And Mr. Kemper, Mr. Sexton, when being examined by Ms. Rojas, said that a subordinate within Mr. Breeden's office or department was able to figure this out and find these documents where he was unable to do so. Did you hear him say that?
I did.
Now, did you hear earlier today when Mr. Breeden said that he had 6 people within his department and 1 open position?
Yes,
All right. Did you hear Mr. Sexton mention that he did an email search for any of those other people within Mr. Breeden's department?
yes.
Who? Other than Ms. Adams? But she did it herself, but anybody?
Mr. Sexton did.
Okay,
I think he testified that he did a company-wide search of everybody's email box.
let me ask it this way. Mr. Breeden identified certain people's names. Do you recall that this
Yes.
morning? Did Mr. Sexton mention that he specifically checked the emails of those people within the marketing and sales department?
No,
Thank you. Now, paragraph 5 says, ETT1 believes the specificity of the request in Henry, as well as the timeline of the Henry plaintiff's consumption of real water and injuries from 2020 and 21 led to the recent discovery of these emails. You see that,
I
right?
do.
Now, you do realize that the emails that were found and just produced last week dealt with the year 2020, correct?
Correct.
And you do realize that plaintiffs in this case, in the Hunwardsen case, have or were injured or suffered injuries in 2020.
Objection overbroad.
Since you use the plural plaintiffs, of course, I'm going to sustain it.
All right. Do you know that there are certain plaintiffs within this case that were injured in 2020 based on consumption of real water in 2020?
Objection irrelevant, prejudicial.
Overruled on both grounds.
Thank you.
You may
Okay,
answer. Go
Drew.
ahead, please.
Thank you. I have a general understanding that there was injury. I'm not specifically sure what year
Good enough.
or years.
Yes, sir. So when you did this declaration and you were agreeing to paragraph 5, you would have, if you were actually intending to make sure that the information was correct, you'd have to know if any of the current plaintiffs in this case were injured in 2020. That's the only way to differentiate it from what you're saying in terms of Henry, correct?
I'm sorry, can you say it again?
Sure. You're saying that Henry, in this paragraph, dealt with injuries in 2020 and 21, correct?
Yes.
Right. And did you know that there were any plaintiff within this case that was also injured in either 20 or 21?
Again, I have a general understanding. My thought at the time was, yes, this was accurate.
And you also knew, because of answers in interrogatories, that communications being sought by plaintiffs in this case span 2018, 19, and 20, correct?
Correct.
All right. And so the same search that was done for Henry should have been done in this case to capture communications in those same years, correct?
Correct.
Objection
Thank you.
overbroad.
Sorry.
Calls for a legal conclusion.
Okay, hold on a second. Overruled on overbroad, and since this witness was the 30B6 witness, correct, and signed the interrogatories?
That is correct, Your Honor. And verified.
In Hunwardsen,
No.
Which is this case, Hunwardsen
Yes.
is this case.
correct.
Overruled, so the court will take into account the witness's answer.
Thank you, Your Honor. Paragraph 6 says, ETT1 had not previously discovered these emails when attempting to meet the discovery obligations and was not intentionally hiding them from plaintiffs. Number 7. ETT's team responsible for preparing discovery responses recently discovered the emails and was actively working with its counsel to disclose them as appropriate when plaintiff's counsel received the email inadvertently sent by ETT's counsel. You see that?
Yes.
Now, the email that you're speaking about, inadvertently sent by ETT's counsel, only identified 11 documents, correct?
I was told that there was 11 emails.
Okay, great. There weren't 290 pages of documents, correct?
I can't say the exact number of pages, but I just know that there was 11. My recollection is there was 11 emails.
And is it fair to say that the 11 emails and/or the additional documents that were ultimately disclosed or produced last week, to your knowledge, none of those documents were produced 2 years ago, a year ago, even before you took your deposition last year in November?
That's correct.
And based upon your review of your entire declaration, sorry.
Yeah, those mics are turned down a little bit lower than these, so.
Oh, okay.
And you better, if you don't need that anymore, you better.
I'm almost done with this and then we'll walk over here. And Mr. Kemper, is it fair to say that nowhere within the 9 paragraphs in this declaration do you indicate that the problem was related to a software system, specifically this online archive?
Can you go back down?
Sure. Mr. Godfrey, please.
Yeah, I don't, just give me the whole thing. So I was trying to read the bottom, below the highlighted stuff, just to make sure.
Keep going down, Mr. Godfrey, so you make sure he sees the whole thing.
That is correct.
Thank you. Now let's take a look at your deposition, sir. And you recall being deposed.
Yes,
Okay. And you recall, Mr. Kemper, the deposition took place on October 3rd, 2023, correct?
23, yes.
All right, good enough. And do you recall discussing the interrogatories during that deposition?
Yes,
And those interrogatories were prepared and responded to perhaps a year before this deposition almost?
correct.
Okay, good enough. Let's bring up your responses to interrogatories. Shane, can you bring up,
Yeah, there's water right behind there. Right, there's water right behind there. We only put it behind so that people don't inadvertently spill it on. But you can put it on whatever table you want.
so these are the defendant ETT's answers to interrogatories. You've seen this document, correct?
Correct.
And you recall signing and verifying the answers to
Yes.
this document? And you understand in Nevada that answers to interrogatories are sworn under oath, correct?
Absolutely.
Perfect. Let's go to interrogatory, well, let's go to the verification page just so we can show that that's your name and signature, okay?
Bear with me, Mr. Parker, it's a different document.
No worries. And Your Honor, while he's doing that, I just wanted to make sure to give the court some chronological context. This was done, electronically served on December 30th, 2022. 22. Okay. So what's on the screen is the verification. Do you see that?
Yes,
And that's your signature? Can you go up a little bit, Shane, so you can see his signature?
yes,
All right. And this was done, says January 3rd, 2023, but I think the answers were served prior to the verification page.
correct.
All right, perfect. And you declare under penalty of perjury that your responses were honest and truthful, correct?
Correct.
Now, if you could go to interrogatory number 6. All right. So interrogatory number 6 says, state whether or not any of your employees had any communications with an employee of the Real Water Company in the years 2018, 19, to 20, and if so, state the name of the employees of each entity and describe the nature of the communications. You see that?
Yes,
And your response after several objections was no. Is that correct?
that is correct.
And it was your belief when you signed this document that there were no communications between Real Water and Terrible's, correct?
That is correct,
For those years, correct?
correct.
Is it fair to say now that as of last week, that your response was incorrect?
It was incorrect.
And you understood that these interrogatory responses, not unlike your declarations, would be used to defend Terrible Herbst in this case, correct?
Correct.
And you willfully gave deposition testimony, you willfully signed the answer to interrogatories, and you willfully prepared and signed 2 declarations in this case, correct?
Correct.
Thank you. Now, during your deposition, you had an opportunity to discuss the answers, and you confirmed that those were the answers that you prepared and that they were correct. Is that a true statement, sir?
That is,
No. So even roughly 10 months later, to the extent that there was any new information, it's, let's say, September 2023 or April 2023 or any time in between, you could have corrected your answers to the interrogatories, correct?
yes.
And they were never supplemented or changed, correct?
I'm sorry.
Between that time period, December of 2022 and when you gave your deposition in October of 2023, you never changed your answers in interrogatories, correct?
No, yes, I did not change it.
Perfect. You've had the opportunity to hear 3 Terrible Herbst employees, correct?
Correct.
And they're in vice president positions, correct?
Yes,
We have 1 chief information
chief,
officer,
correct.
understood, I see where you're going. But the others were in VP positions, correct?
Correct.
And based upon their testimony, you now understand that they all gave misinformation on each of their declarations, is that correct?
That's correct.
And you did as well, correct?
Correct.
You've seen in emails, proposals, and offers from Real Water to Terrible's that we've shown on the screen today, is that correct? Bless you.
I've seen, say it again?
A proposal from Real Water on the MMA, you remember that?
Yes,
Okay, and you saw an offer from Real Water to Terrible's related to a continuation of their promotions, correct?
correct.
All right. And none of those were mentioned in your responses to interrogatories, correct?
Correct.
And to the extent that you denied the same in your deposition, those would be misstatements as well, correct? If you like, I can give you an example.
Yeah,
Sure. Looking at your deposition, page 19, please, Mr. Godfrey. And we're looking at lines 5 and 7 through 7. And it says, and were there any specific agreements with Real Water? You see that?
yes,
Well, you've learned in this case that there was an agreement between Real Water and Terrible, even if it wasn't in the form of some written document, necessarily a contract form. You've seen proposals, you've seen offers, and you know that certain promotions were run at Terrible Herbst for Real Water, correct? For
there's
example,
multiple things in
pump
there.
and- I'll break it down.
But in my mind, there were no agreements.
Okay, so Terrible's played, or at least provided on its pumps, ways that Real Water could promote itself and potentially sell or give away products, correct?
We had a coupon.
Okay, is that a correct statement?
Yes,
All right, that was done by some agreement, correct? Real Water didn't go in there, manipulate the pumps and put their own information on, did they?
No.
Someone at Terrible's did it, correct?
Correct.
All right. Because there was some agreement, at least in verbally, that Real Water would provide water, and if the coupon was used, it would provide free water. And they would provide you enough or adequate supplies to do so, correct?
Yes.
All right. Now, that is an agreement that you deny in this answer, correct?
Correct.
And that was a wrong or mistaken testimony, correct?
Correct.
Thank you. And the same would be true of your response on lines 16 through 19, same page. Would you like me to read it to you, but I believe it's very simple.
That's correct.
You agree that that statement was also incorrect?
That's correct.
All right,
Well, hold on.
read it. Okay, come.
No, that's true. We don't have a distribution agreement with Real Water.
All right, was there an agreement by which Real Water would discount for Terribles $1.50 a case, I believe?
So I believe that agreement was with Nevada Beverage, not with us directly, because they can't, we don't buy from them to be able to discount something. So if there's a discount, it's done between Real Water and the distributor, not between Real Water and Terrible Herbst or ETT.
Got it. So the only agreement you can recall, now that we've had this discussion, was the pumping for, which included the coupon, correct?
Between Real Water?
Real Water and Terrible.
Correct.
Thank you. Looking at page 32, I believe this is the testimony where you agree that your responses to written discovery were valid and that your signature verified that. And I'm looking at lines 10 on page 32 through 11 on page 33.
Okay, well, I'm sorry, what was the question?
Yeah, that's where you verified that your answers and interrogatories were truthful, correct? That you reviewed them, it was your verification. If you want, I can read through it for you.
No, I'll read it.
Yes, sir.
Correct.
All right. Now, at that point, had you actually reviewed the documents that we've now discovered last week, you'd have given different responses to those questions, correct?
Correct.
That's right. But at the time, when we were dealing with motions, like, I don't know if you, how familiar you are, and you can tell me if you were not. Were you aware of the fact that in December and November, we were preparing or participating in hearings on motions?
No.
Okay. You were just aware of the fact that your declarations, because your declaration was also used in the motion for summary judgment. Were you aware of that? As to punitive damages?
So can you read? Is that a document you want to bring up, refresh my memory?
Well, we could bring up I think the opposition to the motion for punitive damages. I don't know if you remember or aware that your declaration was used for that hearing. You did know? Did you know?
I don't know. I don't recall.
All right. You just knew it was going to be used in defense of plaintiff's motion to strike.
You're getting into technical terms here, but,
Well, that's what, we'll show you the declaration, that's what it says on the first page.
okay,
All right,
fair enough.
good. And in terms of the email that you saw from Amy Jones, did you see that email earlier today?
I recently saw it, yes.
Was the first time you saw it was last week?
No, oh, yes, when it was discovered.
All right. And that email also included a link to a commercial that Mr. Breeden and I talked about. You recall that?
I do now, yep.
And you recall Mr. Breeden indicating that after seeing the email, he knew that he had misstated whether or not he knew Ms. Jones or was aware of the commercial, correct?
Correct.
Good. Now let's take a look at your declaration related to the motion, the original motion to strike, okay?
Okay.
So it's on the screen, Mr. Kemper. You see why your declaration was being used, or how it was being used?
Yes,
Based upon the caption?
yes,
All right. So you knew that your information, your sworn testimony was going to be used to defend against plaintiff's motion to strike.
correct,
And you willfully gave this declaration in support of what you now know to be misinformation, correct?
correct.
In fact, untruthful information based upon what we learned last week, correct?
No,
Well, it's incorrect at the very least, correct?
it was incorrect.
All right. Had you and your team actually successfully did the search, then these affidavits could not have been used, or declarations, correct?
Correct.
Thank you. So this declaration, which was signed, let's go to the back page so we can see your signature. Was signed, it looks like electronically signed November 22nd, 2023. Does that look right to you?
Yes,
Good. And again, in paragraph 2, and I'm not going to read everything here because you've heard me ask these questions about paragraphs 1 and 2, have you not?
I have.
Would you agree with me that your statement here in paragraph 2 was incorrect based upon the information that was covered last
Yes,
week? You would also agree with me that your statements in paragraph number 3.
well, can I back up?
Sure.
So, in number 2, oh, sorry, you're gonna go to 3. There was this number, and now you're going to 3. Okay,
Yes.
go ahead.
Are we on the same page now?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought that number 1 and number 2 would not be a problem, given what you've already heard today. In terms of number 3, it says plaintiff's accusations are incorrect. I have conducted searches of my emails and did not locate any communications. Now, that's not true, is it?
Yes, it is.
Did you do the research on your emails, or did Mr. Sexton do the research on your emails?
I did my original search back prior to my deposition and prior to answering the interrogatories.
Okay, and you never asked for Mr. Sexton or anyone else to help you go through your emails?
Yes, I did.
When?
So, Mr. Sexton, Brad came in April, so I'm gonna say it was somewhere around maybe September-ish, something like that, of 23, somewhere around there.
Okay, so from 2021 until September of 2023, no one in IT ever checked your emails.
Yes.
Is that a true
No,
statement?
that's not correct.
Who else checked your emails?
So Brad wasn't employed until, I think, April, I think it was, something like that.
Yes, sir.
Prior to that, we had a director of IT, Matthew Rudolph. He was at the time, he was our head guy.
Yes, sir.
So upon me getting the interrogatories and me getting the answers and understanding through my own investigation, I checked my email box. I couldn't find anything. And in my deposition, I think it says I went and talked to various different people, trying to gain knowledge of it to answer these. One of those people that I reached out to was Matthew Rudolph. And then prior to my deposition, I actually started working with Brad because he came on board. So I used Brad actually in a secondary source capacity. And I said, hey, Brad, I had this conversation with him. I said, hey, Brad, prior to you getting here, this is what we did. This is what I asked. They didn't come up with anything. You're the new guy here. Can you just make sure? He did some big search. I relied on his information and he came back and said, no, we found nothing. I said, okay, that's consistent with what I'm being told.
Well, what is consistent with what you looked yourself.
What I'm being told by others
Okay.
and what I did for myself.
Got it. So are we to believe that a subordinate of Mr. Breeden was able to do what two chiefs of the IT department could not do?
No, he wasn't a chief, he was technically, he was the director of IT. That was Matthew Rudolph. Brad was hired in over him and given the title of Chief Information Officer. To answer your question, yes, Kayla was able to do something for some reason that they weren't able to do.
Are you aware of the fact that Kayla Adams has still not been identified by ETT in this case? Are you aware of that?
I don't, what do you mean by identified? I don't
Well,
know.
witnesses are identified for trials. You're familiar with that.
Okay.
Did you know that Ms. Kayla Adams has never been identified in this case?
Not necessarily, no, I don't, I haven't seen the witness list.
Yeah. Now, let's continue on, Mr. Kemper. Would you agree with me that in paragraph 3, you don't mention any other IT people? You don't mention Mr. Sexton's predecessor in this document, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you don't mention anyone else checking your emails at this point other than you, correct?
In this document?
In this document?
Correct.
Okay, good enough.
Hold on a second. Well, number 4 down here specifically says Brad Sexton. It says, in my deposition on this matter, I spoke to Mr. Walters, and I give the list, and it says Brad Sexton. So-
Right, but I'm asking you in terms of Mr. Sexton at this point checking your emails for you. It says here, prior to my deposition, I spoke with Mark Walters, Terrible Herbst Vice President of Purchasing, Matt Hossa, Terrible Herbst Executive Vice President of Operations, and Brad Sexton, Terrible Herbst Chief Information Officer. You don't indicate that Mr. Sexton at this point reviewed your emails for you. Is that correct?
Well, not specifically, but I do say each one confirmed that we're unable to locate any communications agreements or contracts. So I guess in a broad term, I didn't specifically say, and I asked Brad to do a search in my box.
That's right. You didn't mention that at all, correct? And you didn't mention anything previously to Mr. Sexton coming, correct? Someone else checking. Like Mr. Matthew Rudolph. You don't mention that here in this declaration, do you?
No.
And so, by the time this this declaration was prepared, other than you, no one else had searched your own private emails, correct?
So let's go back. When was this done?
This was November 22nd, 2023.
Oh, yeah. No, we did the search prior to, so like I said, the interrogatories, when they came, part of my, I'll call it investigation, to answer those interrogatories included, me checking my emails and then me reaching out to Matthew Rudolph and asking him to do that as well. He gave me communication back that he couldn't find anything, and that's what we went with.
Right, but you don't mention that here. That's what my point is. That's not contained within this declaration, correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
All right.
Just a friendly reminder, and sometimes people do this all the time, is they want to emphasize points by maybe getting onto the witness stand or doing something with either a pen or pencil or something. It's just, it goes straight into my court recorder's ears, and we just don't get you as clear of a record. We have those intervening sounds. So
Apologies for the eardrums.
no worries, people do it more than once, so we just give a friendly reminder. Thanks so much. Go ahead.
And then going back to paragraph 4, you said each one confirmed that they were unable to locate any communications, agreements or contracts with real water. You see that?
Yes.
So this whole online archive, to your knowledge, is that simply another button within the Microsoft options?
I'm not sure there's another button within.
Yeah, because Mr. Sexton said it's a part of the Microsoft suite. Did you hear him say that?
I did.
Okay, so is that simply, it's not a separate software system, it's a part of the Microsoft system, correct?
I can characterize his testimony in that what I heard and I'm not the technical guy by any means, I think I heard him say that it was part of Microsoft's package.
That's what I heard too. And would you agree with me, now having gone through quite a bit of your declaration and every other declaration prepared, Mr. Sexton's, Mr. Walters, and Mr. Breeden, that not a single one of these declarations mentions a problem with or utilizing online archiving?
Correct.
Now,
And counsel, I am gonna give you the same caution. Remember, you all agreed that everyone's gonna have a fair amount of time to get this taken care of today, plus your other pending motions. And then I recall this was 10 minutes with Mr. Kemper.
sounds great, Your Honor. And I'm almost done. I'm on the last paragraph I'm going to utilize in this declaration.
No worries, we just need to make sure everyone has a fair opportunity to be heard. Thank you so much, because realistically, what you're doing is you're cutting down any closing arguments that anybody wants to do.
Yes, Your Honor, I appreciate that. Finally, Mr. Kemper, because this is the last paragraph I want to speak to you about on your, I believe, on your declaration. Based upon the information you've received now, or last week, all four of these paragraphs, paragraphs 2, 3, and 4, would be misstatements, correct? Or incorrect statements.
No, that's not correct. Number 3, we did not run video advertising. I don't think, well, I still haven't seen proof that we've had advertising on the phones.
Okay, so do you doubt the veracity or the validity of the email that I showed Mr. Breeden that actually had the link of the commercial and the narrative above it saying, can we rerun this commercial again? You don't believe it was ever played despite that narrative in the email?
Despite that, I don't have any, nobody's brought me any proof that a video was run. There wasn't one found, nobody can recall it, so I can't use somebody's words of what that email said. I don't know what the context was. Maybe that email said, you know, maybe they didn't mean video, but hey, by the way, there's this video here that we can run. Maybe they were talking about a coupon or something like that.
Well, the link actually had the commercial line.
It had a commercial.
Right. Involving Miss Amy Jones, who wrote to Mr. Breeden. I
Okay.
saw that email, correct?
Correct.
And you heard Mr. Walters says, did you mean the 18-second or the 30-second commercial? Did you hear him say that today?
I did not. Sorry.
Well, maybe everyone else did. All right. Well, Mr. Kemper, based upon what you have seen in the last week, certainly you can agree that the interrogatories were incorrect, correct?
Correct.
The plaintiffs were never provided the documents that were discovered or provided to us last week, correct?
That's correct.
And the declarations were incorrect.
Correct.
Thank you. I'll pass it with Sean.
Thank you. Counsel, ETT, is that just?